Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of Wana Podcast. We've been so excited and ready to finally post our first episode. And I'm here with my co-host, Akela.
Hello, everybody.
How are you?
I'm good. Okay, are you ready for today's topic?
Yeah, we're very new to this, so it's gonna be...
Yeah, bear with us, people. And if you never listen to this episode, we understand.
Yeah.
But... we are ready. We are wanting to talk about Black Myth Wukong. Funny thing about this is we're obviously kind of posting this late, but I think it's just due to the fact that we wanted to finish the game before doing this, and then promptly came to the conclusion that
it was gonna be impossible.
Yeah, it's impossible.
It's not impossible to finish the game. It's just eventually, since we wanted to do this more often, start posting episodes. We actually want to play the games that we want to talk about. A lot of games have come out right after the other. We have Wukong, then we had Astrobot that we want to talk about. We just had the Plucky Squire. We have Zelda that's coming out. All these things started piling up, and other games that I like playing. That they got far enough that I think I feel good about talking about the game now.
Yeah.
I think you do too.
Well, I think I'm hitting a wall really bad, and I don't think it's going to take me a while before I pass it. And yeah, that on top of all the other games we've been playing, is kind of hard.
Yeah. But anyway, let's cut to the chase.
Yeah, let's dive right in. So, first thing first that we really wanted to kind of talk about is the art direction. I think that's the most, the first thing that I think most people are, that catches their eye, you could say. I think the art direction is absolutely beautiful. Obviously, it's based on Chinese mythology. It's got very, very good, what would be the word? High resolution, feels like
very good graphics.
Yeah, very
much.
Good graphics.
I think one of the best graphics I've ever seen. At least from my perspective, I play Cyberpunk, played Alan Wake. This game goes up there with those, in terms of how graphically amazing this game is. Even I think this surpasses it, to the point that the computer even struggles at some points to even render what's happening.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of people have said that this has been a problem with the graphics and having a lot of slight technical issues. Yeah. I don't think we have really experienced many. Maybe a couple times there was some frame rate drops. It usually seems like when you enter a new world, that's when it happens the most. Yeah. But then eventually it's almost like my computer adjusts.
Yeah, personally, at least when I was trying to play it, most of the time if it was pretty constant. I had it in kind of high resolution.
Yeah.
And low ray tracing, whatever. That doesn't matter. But it was between 60, 80 frames per second most of the time. But sometimes you'll be on the boss battle, and the boss battle all these things are breaking and happening that the 60 or 70 frames goes down to 40 for 2 seconds. Yeah, and then in some certain parts of the world, or different chapters, because there's all these different objects or items around the world, I guess. It just tends to be a little slower, the gameplay the frame rate starts lowering down as well. You'll see 40, 50 frames sometimes, but overall, I know a lot of people mentioned that it was been a glitchy, buggy game. I encountered one bug at the beginning where grass was falling from the sky from an effect that happened during a boss battle. I beat the boss battle, and then just see grass coming from the sky infinitely. But other than that, I haven't encountered that many glitches that really broke the game to me.
Yeah, I don't think I encountered a single glitch. I think just a frame rate drop in the first chapter for me, and then after that I haven't actually really experienced it at all. But I am only at the very, very end of chapter 2, because this game has been a very, very slow work in progress for me. I'm not very good at these action combat based games, So,
Which is
that's
gonna be
why.
it's gonna be part of the things we're gonna talk about because it's the point that this game is kind of a Souls-like. Just want to throw that out there. I know most people already know this, but I will say that that's part of the reason why you are struggling is the fact that it's got that challenge, Souls-like kind of challenge in the game. But anyway, if we continue moving on, at least from our direction, the game looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
The game looks amazing to me. I think the way the characters are designed is so, I don't know, is so cool. It's something that I don't feel like I've ever seen before.
It does feel very unique. It does feel like looking at old school not Japanese, oh my gosh, Chinese artwork. I'm too used to anime. I'm thinking Japanese.
We're too used to Japanese culture that, just being barely introduced to Chinese is it feels weird. I know.
But it feels very much like that stuff. And so it's just so fun to be able to, have something that unique with the art and not something that's Western that we've seen 100,000 times before.
Yeah, like you seeing all the Nordic gods all the time, or seeing the same.
The Greek gods,
Or I'm not saying that they're bad, or like D&D world, kind of like dragons, knights, fantasy, orcs. Saying that I'm not saying that that's bad. I love that kind of. I love all that, but I just love that there's something different and new to talk about in this media, and something to that they decided to use this media for to tell us this novel, or do an adaptation for this novel. That I really appreciate the work they put in for this.
Yeah,
like, really,
for sure.
And it was not only the art and visual aesthetic of the game that looked cool. It was also the combat style, combat system was. There's a lot of good things to say. I mean, I have a lot of other things to say about this too, but I think overall I had a very great experience with the gameplay of this game. That I want to finish this game. I'm gonna take a little more time to go through the last 2 chapters. But yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Like, what?
I think the combat is super polished. I think it feels really, really good most of the time. I think that it's fun and exciting. That's the most
important part.
Yeah. So I think the combat is great. So not only the art, like you said, shines, but I think the combat shines. Now, we do have a couple of gripes about how you upgrade stuff, I believe, that we'll get into more. But when you look at the combat at its most basic form, right, which is just, I would call that your attack moves, your dodging, right? Normally in most games there'd be parrying, but this game doesn't have parrying. It's just dodging and attacking. Obviously you can lock on to enemies and bosses, which is important for these kinds of things. All of that feels really, really good. It all works really well, and it is super duper satisfying when you do something like a heavy attack,
or when
in
you
my
do
opinion.
Something like a perfect dodge.
Or a perfect dodge, yeah.
Because your perfect dodge is technically your parry mechanic, but I think most of the time I found myself spamming the dodge button most of the time. Because I think I really like the combat as well. At least like you mentioned, like the basic part of like the part that looks more like a Souls-like, which is you just have your normal attack. Like literally, you just have one button to attack. Is there 2 buttons?
There's 2 buttons.
There's
your light
buttons.
attack and
It's
a
true.
heavy attack.
There's your light attack and there's your heavy attack, and sometimes you can combine both. So it makes it feel like there's a hack and slash feeling on it, that you can combo them. But I guess that's a part of the things of the combat that I have some. Like I think they could have been better at, or kind of have a better decision of what direction to go, because they feel a lot like a Souls game when you're playing it.
But it doesn't at the same time, and I think
Right.
that's where we were talking about it being an issue, is you told me, oh, I just wish it was more of a pure hack and slash, and they just forgot
Yeah.
all the Souls stuff.
Yeah, but I think that's probably, I think from thinking about it, I think that's also like a personal thing. Because I know some people might think, oh, this combat felt great. Like, I like the combination of both. And that's fine. Oh, some people will say, no, I would have liked more of the Souls-like stuff. Like, have it a little more complex in that sense. Like, not as... Because, Wukong moves very fast. In a Souls game, your character doesn't move fast. You're
Typically a knight.
You're a knight with a
burdened with armor.
Exactly, yeah. And so I bet some people would have liked that a little more. I like more fast, and I like doing combos. I think they look cool. I think there was a lot of potential here to have a more complex combo system with your heavies and your lights. Maybe you're learning new lights, new heavies, I guess that goes along with everything else that involves the combat, that goes with your skill tree. I think probably instead of having a skill tree, you could have
like a jump light combo or a jumping heavy attack combo.
Yeah, like you're
right?
learning new combos, like new things that you could do. Like, oh, if you push this button with this button, you do this. Or if you do jump with heavy and then light, this happens. Or if you do both at the same time, this happens.
Yeah.
Kind of like Devil May Cry, or even God of War has that. And this game has a lot of God of War feeling to it too, which
I think if it had done it even more so like a God of War, I think it would have been better. I don't think I agree 100% with you with the number of combos. I get overwhelmed with that kind of stuff. That's the reason why I don't like fighting games. Is you know very well, right? But I do think it would have been cool to have a few different types of combos if you do a certain type of jump and then you hit a certain button, or if you do a dodge and you hit a certain button, it gives you special effects, or it hits the enemy a certain way, or it dazes him for a second. Like that would help. I think that make it just a little more exciting, maybe.
Yeah, but I also think I'm guessing that it's not like a problem. It's probably just a me thing, and it's the skill tree system too.
Mm-hmm.
That it could be the combo thing, but it just doesn't feel like they didn't know. Like, I feel like they know what they wanted to do with this, but I think about it when they're selling it as a Souls-like game. What does a Souls-like have for like your skills, or like what do you use your skills for? Like, it's, I think to me when I think about it, it is very simple, like what you put them on, and at the same time complex, because you have like, you put your points or you spend your souls on...
They're sparks. They're called sparks.
Yeah, they're sparks. But I'm talking about like in a Souls game, for example.
Yeah.
In a Souls game, you put your souls into health, magic. You put your souls into strength, stamina, dexterity, arcane, intelligence, and faith. That's saying like Elden Ring, for example. So there's 8 things that you put your souls in. And I just feel like that simple, like there's just 8 things you're using your grind for. In Wukong, I feel like there's like a lot of different things. Like,
I don't think there's more than 8 though.
There is a lot. Skill trees. You have skill trees for dodge, a skill tree for health, a skill tree for mana, a skill tree for stances, a skill tree for spells. Just think about also the skill trees for transformations. You have, in Souls, like, you can use your points for other things too, right? But you use your points, well, in this one you have will. You have to use will for your spirits. You use will for, your gourd, I just feel like there's too much.
I agree to some degree, and we've discussed this a little bit before, right? So, in the skill tree, right, there's what you can have your basics, right? So, like you mentioned, the dodge, your stamina, right? I think this one also includes the stances, I believe.
I think the stances is different.
Oh, I'm sorry. Stances are their own part.
See, and there's 3 different stances, too, that you use your skills for.
Yeah. And, I mean, on the one hand, I think it does create good variety, right? You can pick and choose how you want to do it. And I think the reason why it is okay, though, is because they do allow you to take back all of your sparks, all of your points, and you can redistribute them how you please. So if you do it one way and you don't like it, you can always change and focus on something else. If you didn't focus on spells at first, you can go back and focus on them maybe later.
Yeah.
If that's better.
I do think that was a cool thing they added. The fact that you can go to a little shrine and you could set up your skills differently depending on the boss battle. Like, let's say you move to a boss battle, you try to find him, you die, and then you're like, oh, maybe, you could kind of try moving your skills along and see what could work better for your boss. Like, it kind of has that strategy element. I do like that.
Yeah.
I do like that from it, yeah.
Well, that's good. And the thing, though, is I feel like I used it more to reorganize it when I didn't understand what certain skills were for. Because we talked about this, too, is that some of the skills feel like they don't actually improve anything that much. It seems like they're almost non-existent, what they can do.
Yeah.
So that's a little problematic, and I think that's why maybe to use skill trees, their skill trees feel a little like overwhelming, like there's too much, because there are a lot of options, and some of them feel useless.
Yeah, and I guess not just that. It's also it's just the fact of hearing that, oh, it's a Souls-like, but the skill tree aspect, like the way of grading yourself, it doesn't feel like a Souls game. It feels like just a normal RPG game, I guess.
But that's what it is. It's not a Souls game.
Right.
It is an RPG.
It is an action.
So that's fair.
It's basically an action RPG game with very hard bosses.
a lot of
Souls
hard
game,
bosses.
like a Souls game.
But more bosses than Souls, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, I believe so.
Like 3 times as much.
I do have a question for you. I'm kind of with the same idea of like the redundancy of. I guess that's what I mean. Like the redundancy of skills and things.
Yeah.
You know how there's the spirits that you collect and there's the transformations?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think, because the spirits you use them
As a heavy, like a
it's like
special attack.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's this thing called ki that it goes up, basically. It's different. I'm just telling you. It's different than your normal talent or your normal, I can't remember what it's called, focus. I'm just telling you.
But that's not your mana either.
No, exactly. So I'm not telling you that it's not your mana. It's called ki. So yeah, redundancy again. But anyway, wouldn't you agree that that the spirits, and by the way, the transformations are spells, that you could get rid of the spirits or not get rid of the spirits, but put the transformations, get them out of the spell slots, put them in the spirit category, and use them more like. Use them still like a transformation, but instead of using them for like your mana, like use the key thing just for the transformation. Wouldn't you agree that's a good idea?
No.
No?
I would rather just give me more mana and keep it as a spell and forget ki, because quite honestly,
that too.
Myself, I don't even realize that that's a thing. I didn't even know. All I know is I can do the special attack once in usually most boss battles, and then it never seems to come back.
Or get rid of the ki and spirits at all and just keep the transformations.
I think the spirits are fine. I think that's cool. I just think with the question you posed, if I had a choice to change that, if I were to change it, I would rather just get rid of ki and that whole system altogether and just keep everything under mana.
That works to me too, because it simplifies it to just the one thing. Mana.
And I only have to worry about one type of, a stat. Because, I have that and my stamina already and my health. I'm going to be honest, me personally, that already feels like a lot. I don't need to worry about my ki and the other one that you also mentioned, the focus. I don't even know what those do still. And
well, maybe that's what I'm trying to bring here. That I think there is a problem with that. There is a problem with there's an abundance, plethora of different mechanics, because you don't know what focus is. I know what focus is. Focus is what you build as you're attacking your opponent, and it builds your heavy attack.
Oh. So
it makes it stronger. That's what the focus is. That's the one bar you see go up when you're attacking, for example.
But I don't think, and that's maybe that's why it's taking me so long and I'm struggling, right? Is because I don't understand these things enough. But I also don't pay attention to tutorials very well. I'm kind of a speed pass through them and then get confused later kind of gal.
Yeah. But and so I just feel like At least that's how I felt. It's the transformations and spirits. Like, I'm collecting all these spirits,
Yeah.
and I don't use them all. I just use one because it feels the most useful one for
Yeah.
the whole thing. It's the guy that gives you extra defense, and his attack is a pretty good heavy attack.
We like to call him Baby Buddha because he's like a short man, but he looks like a big Buddha head.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like the best spirit in my opinion. I don't even. I try using the snakes,
Yeah.
and I was like, I just went back to the usual, and I'm not even thinking of trying new ones because
See, I think the only reason why that's problematic, and I don't think it's because, let's put it this way. I think the spirits are fine how they are, but the thing is they give you a really OP one at the beginning. Now, granted, he's really hard to beat at the beginning. I struggled a lot with that guy. But honestly, once you beat him, he does have, I think, one of the better ones. But if they had put that later on the game and some of those other ones that seem lesser earlier on first, and you had to experiment with them before you got to, like, the really good ones, I think that would
also
be a little better in that sense.
Also, I guess, now thinking about it, it's like, if you have all these spirits, I guess their point is like, yeah, it's an RPG, so let them pick, right? Let them pick what they want to use, so give them options.
But we were discussing it would be
just-
cool to turn them in for will or something, or be able to use them to increase
Yeah.
other stats.
Or turn them in for sparks.
Get a
or
spark for-
something like that, have like a system where you can, turn those spirits in,
Get
increase
rid of
your
the
health.
unuseful ones.
Yeah, I mean, you can get very OP with that, but
Well, no, because
you just reduce the
certain-
amount of spirits. Some of them are useless. Like, there's the
Yeah.
ones that are the strongest ones. They literally have they're the epic ones. They're epic spirits,
Yeah.
and there's rare spirits.
Well, the
They're-
difference, right, is epic ones are more like boss battles. The rare ones are more like enemies that look like regular enemies, but they have like a
Right.
little blue flame around them that proves that they're like extra hard for some reason.
Yeah, and so why would you even use those?
I don't-
Why wouldn't you, like,
Yeah.
I guess it probably has to do with the key cost. But,
Yeah, you could probably use those ones more. You just don't know because you haven't used them.
right, because I'd rather use the other guy that gives me extra defense,
Yeah. Well, I don't want anybody here to think that we're bashing Wukong. I think we both think it's a fantastic
Right.
game, but there are some things that we definitely feel like could easily be improved that would just elevate it
Yeah.
to the next level.
I think that's something I wanted to bring up too, that it feels like I'm bashing the game. And I had a lot of fun with this game. I'm just trying to, I don't know, I've tried to come up with a way to give good critique, constructive critique. So, like, if they make a new game, which I will be really excited for if these people make a new game.
Oh,
like,
heck yeah.
These people have a lot of potential to make such an amazing game that I just feel like if good criticism comes to them, they could make us a very good experience next time. Like, a way better experience in terms of combat and little gameplay mechanics. Like,
Yeah.
it's more like little gimmicks, like the skill tree and all that sometimes you could feel a little bit like, oh, I have 3 sparks. Oh, but I have like 12 options to where can I put them. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what to do.
It can be a little overwhelming especially as you get more and more spells unlocked.
Yeah.
Right, because at the beginning it didn't feel that bad because you just had, the one stance you really were working on, and you had your health and your stamina things you could do, and you
Yeah.
had one spell that you were given, right? But then you get, I know you're a lot farther than me, and it seems like you have even more than what I have, and so I get why that would start to cause you to feel like, I don't have
Right.
enough stats, like sparks to fill up my stats.
Exactly. It's like you have like different, and I appreciate that having all these choices for spells, but I don't feel like there should be a need for adding an extra skill tree for my
Yeah.
spell. I mean, I will get rid of some of the skill tree options they have. I just would simplify them more, Like,
Yeah.
I would just like have them like, you add the spark here, you get more health, you get more, like, you get
Yeah.
more than just one thing. It just
Yeah.
feels like
But
they
then
spread them out more,
they do, and that's not even including things like you can upgrade your staff, you can upgrade your armor, you can upgrade your gourd, right, which is your health, which that one makes sense to me. But you also have little items that you can carry around with you that are supposed to give you passive things.
Yeah, kind of
and
like
help.
like a Souls game, yeah, like the little
And
passive.
then you have other, you have a couple of different versions of that, right? And then deep down, really behind all that skill trees, if you look on like your character sheet, there is a spot where it shows you all those similar stats like you mentioned at the beginning of a Souls game.
Yeah.
But it's just your skill trees in like upgrading your weapon and armor and stuff change those things, which it feels like you said. There's a lot of redundancy in our opinion.
And there's also there's a one NPC you find in chapter 2 that you can also upgrade your mana, health, and stamina from.
Oh yeah.
And all these other stats you have. So it's
but that's not including the one that's already on the skill tree, because you can also put sparks on your health and stamina.
Yeah, and those ones take like, if you want to complete one ball of the skill, it takes you like 5 sparks to do that. So there's a lot of those spells as well for that.
Yeah, where you can upgrade multiple times, which is fine. Like, that doesn't bother me.
It's just, I just felt like, like the stances, for example, I feel like they could have easily just have the stances already like available to use at first.
Like the basics, yeah.
And then you just have a skill that gives you an extra move for each stance.
That would be fair. I think that would be a great idea.
For
Fantastic.
example, or increase their whatever they do, their passive stats, whatever, because they have them spread them out. And I'll be honest, every time I spend a spark, sometimes I feel like it does feel like at first you're upgrading something, but when you start fighting, I don't feel like you upgrade that much. Like the upgrade doesn't feel like immensely, which I think that's also, you could say, part of their game design of like saying, you're progressing, but I would say the progression part is pretty good. Like I haven't felt like I was under leveled or ever. I don't think.
And I feel like that's sometimes something that comes down to just personal player abilities, because me, in that first chapter, there was definitely a short period of time there where I would just literally repeat the same area over and over and over again because I felt underleveled, but it was just because I wasn't necessarily skilled enough. Like, as a player, I wasn't skilled enough yet.
Yeah. And that was probably also...
So I needed a skill boost almost to help.
I probably was also a little bit more overleveled than you were, so you never know. But I will say, like, in terms of, like, how balanced the game is, I felt... I will give them credit for that, like for having all these different skills and stuff, that it felt balanced.
Yeah.
That they were able to make all that work. But I'll feel like next time, at least as a player, when I have to manage a menu, I will like you to simplify that menu a little bit, because I would like to play more, not manage I like managing my stuff, because I like you mentioned you're gonna complain about this. So how about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that you play like I don't know how many hours on?
Over 100.
And you were like managing your materia and stuff. Well,
yeah, I looked at that, sir, and I thought the materia system seemed so confusing.
But let me tell you, that system, it's way more simplified than this. You know why?
Why?
Because over here, how do you spend... Here's what happens. Over here, you use sparks to upgrade them. And in Final Fantasy VII, what do you do? It's like your spells on the materials. Guess what? The materials level up as you use them. They leveled up themselves. You don't have to go in the menu and level them up. Yeah,
but you have to match them and see which colors work good with which colors, and then you have to make sure each single character has all the right ones. It's all the same idea.
No, that's different.
No. We're just gonna agree to disagree on this.
That's
one,
a different game.
It's gonna take us an hour.
That's a different game, for a different podcast.
I'm aware. I get it. That's what I'm saying.
For a different episode. Here.
Okay. Well, sorry about that, people. Our lovely arguments. We tend to get.
We're tend to like a little spiteful here.
A little spiteful here about our different opinions, but. Shall we talk about maybe some of the other mechanics? I think we've exhausted all of the ideas we have regarding
gameplay.
Not gameplay, but just like the skill trees and stuff like that, because there's a lot of other mechanics that are important.
To add up, at least to the gameplay, just to finish up. I just wanted to give credit to the game for like how good the boss battles were.
That's what I was wanting to talk about next.
Oh, okay. That's great.
I just meant stop talking about
Gameplay.
No, not gameplay. The skill trees. We were talking about skill trees for quite a while.
Okay.
So, boss battles is kind of what I was thinking about, because there's obviously a lot of different bosses, and that's obviously like their big, I would say, main thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
what's your opinion?
I think the boss battles are cool in this game. I think they're for having that many. And I remember reading reviews for this game and saying like the game was very linear, that there was a lot of like the stoppages in between were like very small, like like the little enemies you find between bosses. I never really felt like that, at least after chapter, like even like I just felt like that in chapter 1. Like chapter 2 felt a little bit more like you could explore a little bit more. Chapter 3 got even bigger, like that whole area is way bigger, and chapter 4 same. I think the boss battles, we talked about their designs, are cool, but I also think they're very unique. There's a lot of repetition, like not a bunch. There is some bosses that get repeated every like. There's the frog boss, for example.
The frog boss once per chapter, which it's okay if it's just one type of boss.
Yeah. But then I think about like the little enemies. I know we're talking about bosses, but like little enemies, I don't feel like they ever repeat in each world. I think that's great. Like I see there was a lot of creativity there, and...
Can I interject on that for a second?
Yeah.
What I think is cool about it is that they really thought about the types of enemies that would live in each of these types of worlds, for the most part. Now, obviously, I've only gotten through 2 chapters. I've watched you play parts of chapter 3 and 4. And the thing is, I think about, you look at the forest, for example, right? Bosses, you have like a bear, you have a bunch of wolves. It's really just, you have snakes, right? Skeleton snakes.
You
like these make sense.
guy.
These all feel like they make sense in the perfectly logical in a...
Like it fits the setting.
In a forest, yeah. And then you go to chapter 2, and then you're up against rats, and you're up against these gross, like...
You're in a desert.
Yeah, you're in a desert. These nasty stone people things that roll at you. And
they're horrible.
And these,
they're
like,
annoying.
stick mages that look like they were made out of deer bones or something, It's like, I don't know, like, they just feel like they fit in this desert world the way they're designed. And then, I don't remember the ones from 3 very well. I think they have zombies. Like, a version of zombies.
They look like zombies, but they're like people that devour the Buddha guy. Like the last boss, I think.
Oh.
I'm not exactly sure how to explain it, because they look like people, but it looks like people that, kind of like...
Like frozen people, because it's snowy.
Yeah, kind of, I'll say, yeah.
I don't remember those ones, but I do remember watching you, like, in chapter 4. You're, like, in a cave system, and there's a lot of spiders and buggy-looking characters.
It's a lot of bugs.
And it's kind of, like, cool.
It's also because the main bosses there are spiders. They're bugs.
Yeah.
So it is very cool how they used their setting and they took advantage of it, like, very well to make new enemies.
Like, they fit all those together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and going back to the boss battles, I just think the combat just felt very smooth, most of the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes it would make you wanna, like, you have like, it makes you use certain items that you find in certain areas, like for doing like mostly because there's that you can find secret areas in each chapter. Usually the secret
like
area,
the secret bosses, right?
The secret area will give you like an item if you beat it, and this item is specifically to help you beat the last boss.
That's pretty cool.
And I think that's pretty cool. I think that's...
Unless you don't beat that boss until after you beat the main boss.
I'll be honest. Chapter 3, the last boss, was awful. He's probably the... Like... I would insult that boss. Like, he was awful. He was awfully hard. He was the hardest so far. I'm in the chapter 4 last boss right now, and he feels just as hard. Or even worse, actually. And I'm like... I didn't have the items for that. I didn't have those items for that. I had the item for chapter 2.
Yeah.
And that did help me beat that boss. Because that boss would have been harder to beat. At least the last quarter of health. Because that's when he starts doing this attack that's like annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a super cool thing. I also think the boss battles are just in general fun. I mean, relatively, they're super hard, I think.
Yeah.
But the thing that I do kind of wish a little bit was more Souls-like was the dodging. You wouldn't like get hit necessarily on all the dodges, because that's something in this game that they do, right? It doesn't matter if you dodge or not. If you are in the line of the attack or whatever, you still will get hit. And that was sometimes hard for me, because certain attacks or certain enemies or things they do, it's a lot harder to like actually be out of the way completely, right? You dodge, and yet it's still like the attack takes up so much space that you still manage to get hit even though you pushed the dodge button.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just me bad timing and not noticing, but
it's hard to time it too, because I'm not saying it's hard, but to learn to time it is hard because of how fast the pace of the game is.
Yeah. So I do wish it was that if I was in the middle of dodging, I was a little more immune or something, because it just frustrates me.
I had to. That's one thing. Like, I had to, for example, I every time I get attacked, I most of the time spam the dodge button. I'll be honest, and sometimes I land a perfect dodge. Sometimes I do think about the dodging, like timing it, and it sometimes works. Sometimes, most of the time, it doesn't.
Most of the time, it doesn't.
One thing I did learn that was cool, it was because most of the time you think, oh, because he does the same attacks all the time, you just spam the attack button. One thing I've learned though is to time that too, because sometimes that helps you also like dodge, on time. So it's like if you're not like mashing it, then you won't activate like an animation, in the middle of the other.
You mean you won't activate a part of the attack that you?
Yeah,
wrong time.
Yeah, the wrong time that actually requires you to dodge.
Yeah. I guess that's true. That's a fair point, because I do mash the button, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I need to dodge, and then he can't dodge yet because he's still doing the attack for my last mash.
It's definitely a game that feels like you're okay with mashing, but I recommend you not mashing.
Don't mash.
At least attacking. Don't, and learn to time your attacks.
Yeah.
Like
that's good advice.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I mean, I do wish, though, however, there was a little bit more in between bosses, a little more in the exploration aspect.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think the maps necessarily. I don't think that means make the maps bigger. I just think it would have been nice to have a little bit more of
density.
Yeah, density, like more interesting things to interact with or find or look at in between, and especially with the skill tree. I don't want to talk about that too much more, but with that being so big, as we've already mentioned, having other ways to improve that. Now you do have the spots where you can meditate, and that gives you sparks, but I don't, there's only so many of those, and you just go, you do it, you sit there for a couple seconds, you look, they give you beautiful they pan over the beautiful scenery in their game, which I think that's cool. It's a great way of showcasing that art style, those graphics. But, I just wish there were other things, other puzzles even, like...
This game's lacking puzzles.
It does lack puzzles.
It's combat based, and that's why I go hard on the combat, on the skill tree and all that kind of stuff, because that's their main mechanic.
Yeah.
That's the only thing this game has.
Yeah.
Puzzles? Nope.
I don't think it's bad.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, I would say in terms of puzzles, the only puzzly thing is like where you find when there's like a secondary side mission.
Yeah.
I would say that's when you have to figure out where to go, or how to get that side mission, progressing. I think that would be the only puzzly part. But there's like one side mission per world.
Yeah. But I mean, I get as Game Science as being their first AAA game that they couldn't incorporate all of that. And, if I had to choose between what they did, which is a nice polished finish on all their combat systems, right, versus having puzzles and a mediocre combat system, I definitely prefer what they did end up doing. Yeah. But, these are kind of things that I would be like, if you made a second game, I'd love to see more of these kinds of things incorporated as well. Maybe back off a little bit on the bosses. I know that they were, It seems like they got overzealous on all their designs of characters and, you know, like trying to stay accurate to the story. And I have a funny feeling the story probably has a lot of characters and they wanted to showcase a lot of that, you know.
Yeah.
So
I have something to say about narrative, though.
Mm-hmm.
That it kind of goes along with how the story's told. I mean, this is kind of different what we were talking about.
Yeah.
But now that you mention it, you mentioned story, and I'm like, so far I love the story. Or at least I love what I'm seeing. I love what they're showing me. Sometimes it's really hard to understand what's going on, though.
Yeah.
I think since this is an adaptation, and you know, it's mostly caters the Chinese population, right? I kind of just feel like if you want to understand this, you have to like read the actual novel first.
Yeah.
Because it is really hard to
understand
or get what they're like, you know, their characters and some of the things that are going on in the game. I will say I don't think that. I mean, maybe over there they feel the same way about us in our stories. Who knows? Who knows?
Never thought about that before, huh?
But you know, I just thought about that. Like, you know, I don't get what this is getting at sometimes. Like, you get it, but in reality you don't.
Well, I feel like the thing is, you know, you mentioned Dragon Ball kind of at the beginning, and well, I don't know if you did or not.
I didn't.
You didn't. My bad.
I didn't.
So,
I mentioned it like earlier.
That's true. So Dragon Ball, like, you know, it's kind of based off a similar, right? The same book, a little bit.
Yeah. So for what I understand, the some characters were based on Wukong.
Okay.
And some aspects of the first Dragon Ball
anime was
or manga, the first manga.
Oh, the first manga, that's true.
Like when Goku was little, some aspects are the same. Like, you know, yeah, Goku has a tail and he's a monkey.
Yeah.
Like that's basically Wukong, and he has a staff.
And he flies on the flying Nimbus.
Yes, that was amazing.
So, I mean, I feel like for me, when I think of the story, that's probably informing me more than the actual story in the game, which is okay. I mean, I don't think the story is that.
I'll be honest, as a Dragon Ball fan, if you're a Dragon Ball fan, I will pick this game up. It's fun. Like, you just feel like...
You feel like Goku,
you
but
feel like Goku, but
real life.
Real life.
Live action Goku.
With all the science and all that kind of stuff. Because, you know, you see the first scene, you see the flying Nimbus. It's so cool. Like, I screamed like a little kid when I looked at that. And I'm pretty sure I haven't gotten this far, but I've seen some people that gotten a little farther than me, that you eventually get the flying Nimbus. Like, you eventually get to ride it. I know! It's like, oh.
Well, now I definitely have to finish this game.
Yeah, because I want to see that.
Well, I think we digressed a little bit. We went on a tangent.
Yeah, but, you know, I mean, just kind of to point out with the flying Nimbus part at the beginning, I just thought, not just the flying Nimbus, but how cool the beginning was. Like, it kind of had that Dragon Ball feeling, but at the same time that God of War feeling. Like, but the God of War, like God of War 3. Because, like, you're flying and then you're seeing, like, these deities, like, waiting for you, like these big Buddha things, like Buddha gods. They're, like...
Yeah.
And you see, like, whoa, this is, like, serious stuff. Like, I'm getting into some real business here.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, in God of War, you go brutal and you just go bloody murder all of them.
Yeah, we know, yes.
But, yeah. That's something I wanted to say about narrative that was... I just wanted to get it out.
Well, okay. I think we're getting close to the hour mark here. So I think we should be kind of starting to wrap things up here with you guys. Any other last thoughts before we kind of do final conclusions and recommendations?
I don't think so. I think we've covered most of the things that we talked about.
Yeah.
I kind of just want to go to my conclusion.
Conclusion?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Tell us, what's your ultimate opinion on this?
Well, I think this game has a lot of good, like I said, stunning visuals, art direction, like we talked about. I think the narrative is great. a lot of deep cultural aspects of it, like from Chinese culture. You'll definitely learn a lot of a lot of the Chinese culture. Of course, it's different than go there, but you just getting a little bit exposed to it was kind of fun to me. There's a lot of unique bosses, the unique enemies, unique characters, this designs, and it was very cool for me. The combat, as we mentioned, in general was well polished, despite all the flaws that for me were flaws. For some people won't, but that's fine. And I think level design in general, I think we didn't talk that much about it, but
We didn't.
I think the level design was, I think I kind of mentioned it. I never fell on their level. Like I felt I was balanced. Like the game was balanced, enemies were balanced, and I was right on the level I should be. And I think for me, if I had to rate it, it'll be like an 8 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, not. It might be in a Game of the Year nomination, just because of how big of an impact this game has been, how awaited, and all the people that played it. But if I had to be objective, I don't think this is like my Game of the Year.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, for me personally, my opinion is that it's a beautiful game. I think it's well worth playing if you're willing to put in the work. I definitely won't recommend this to any person out there. I think definitely if you do enjoy action, combat-based games of any sort, you will definitely enjoy this. I think most Souls, like, genre fans would possibly enjoy this. I'm not 100% sure if that's true or not, but, I feel like the difficulty there is pretty high, so I think anybody who wants a challenge would really like it. I think the same as you, bosses are incredible. The staging of all of the boss battles is awesome. Like just every time you walk into a new area, you just absolutely feel like awestruck. Like I won't forget in the second chapter, right, in the desert, when you go up to fight the Tiger Vanguard, right? And they give you a cinematic, and he's literally
That boss is
walking.
so cool.
Yeah, he's like literally sitting in a pool of blood, and he's like licking it up, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like this is insane, like you. And I think that's so cool. They just
Or just think about the wolf boss that he's like crawling around the buildings, and the buildings are like breaking and stuff. That was so
that guy
cool.
too.
Oh, the bear was cool too.
So there's just so many cool, like, iconic moments, I feel like, in this game that you just go, wow. So, awesome game. I would maybe give it between an 8 and an 8.5. For me, I think overall 8.5, but because it's hard for me personally, it would go a little lower just because of the difficulty for me personally, right? So, that's kind of what I would give it overall, but great game. I'm so glad that we, took the time to play it and give it a chance, despite some of the controversies that, kind of surrounded it.
Yeah, we wanted to get that out of the way because, like, I don't think a game should be rated because of those kinds of things, And this is why, we kind of took the time and wanted to play this game.
Yeah.
And actually rate it for what it is, for what the actual game is.
Well, there's no bullcrap in this game, right? There's no extra stuff. It is what it is. You buy it, you have it. There's no paywalls, no extra content you have to pay extra for, which is a big deal, I think, now.
And I'll tell you,
which is a plus.
One also last thing, despite of the bad things, or the things I've already mentioned, this game is fun.
It's fun.
It's fun. Like if you just don't think about it, if you don't think about the skill tree too much, it's just like a little thing that could be a little annoying sometimes. But once you're in the battling and killing enemies, it is a fun experience.
Yeah, all of the things we sound like we're complaining about, we don't mean it like it's bad. These are just little things that we think could possibly be improved. Ideas. It's more of like a brainstorm.
Right.
Just
kind of also kind of like brainstorming like what could be better, and that goes along with the rating of what we think this game kind of follows, you know.
Yeah.
But overall, that's why I have put it an 8, because this game's fun. And, you know, like she mentioned as well, the staging and plus the visuals. I'll tell you, every time I had a boss battle, like a main boss battle, I was in awe of how amazing it looked and how, like, oof, it was so gorgeous. It's just so gorgeous. And I don't recommend to everyone, but it's just fun, just normal fun game, just what we need.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening. It's been quite a joy for us to be able to talk about this game. Yeah. We are definitely trying to upload videos at least every other week, if not every week. So please look forward to our next episode. We are planning on talking about Astrobot next time. We're super stoked to be talking about this 3D platformer that's kind of exploded on the internet, at least in our feeds. Maybe, you know, the algorithm is just giving it to us because we showed interest. But please join us next week to talk about Astrobot. Please don't forget, we do have our Twitter account as well. If you want, you can follow us there at
1UP Gaming PD.
Yeah, 1UP Gaming PD. And we are going to just be posting, you know, other little tidbits, other things, opinions that we have. We'll be, you know, letting you know about upcoming videos on there as well. And then also, always, please give us a rating. We're trying to really, you know...
Give us a like. Tell us what we're doing better, what we're doing bad. Tell us...
Yeah.
Give us some feedback. We're barely starting, but we're very excited because this is a media that I love. We love video games here. We love talking about them. We talk about them like every day, basically.
Yeah. So it's an exciting time for video games. So, again, thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time.